Mr. Nigel Dodds.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, and it's a real pleasure to follow the honourable gentleman, the member for Southend West, and to hear him speak so passionately on behalf of his constituents. Many comparisons have been made with the 1992 election and the fact that a Tory majority government was elected despite the odds and despite the predictions. And of course he is the 1992 election personified. When on the night of the election, his election was the indication that the Conservatives are going to be returned. So it is a real pleasure to follow him. And Mr. Deputy Speaker, I want to congratulate at the outset the Right Honourable Member for Chelmsford and the Honourable Member for South East Cornwall in proposing and seconding, respectively, the gracious speech, and doing so appropriately and well. I will, yes.
I'm just trying to recall the Basildon Man in 1992. What on earth happened to that 1992 Tory government? How did they get on?
Well, I'm very grateful to the Right Honourable Gentleman, and can I add my congratulations to others in welcoming him back to this House. I remember him here previously before he went back to Scotland and served as First Minister. And as far as the 1992 government is concerned, I leave it to others to judge what happened as far as that record is concerned. But we will look to the future, I think, in this Queen's Speech debate today. I give way to the Honourable Gentleman.
Just make one comment, and that is, as the Right Honourable Gentleman will know, we called for a Maastricht referendum campaign, and now we've got a referendum. So there you are.
Well, the Honourable Gentleman has spoken many words of wisdom in this House over the years, with which I agree, and certainly he, again, is proof that if you work at an issue and fight for an issue that you believe in long enough, you will eventually get there in the end, especially if it's the right cause. And certainly on the idea of giving the people of the United Kingdom their say on Europe and whether we should be in it or out of the European Union, as he knows, I have been a long-time advocate of that referendum. I'm delighted to see it in the gracious speech. But before I go further down the road of dealing with the detail of the speech itself, may I also, on behalf of my right honourable and honourable friends in these benches, join with others in commending our armed forces and the work that they continue to do across so many theatres and in so many other ways to protect and defend the people of this country. And certainly from Northern Ireland, where 20% of the reservists of the United Kingdom are made up of Northern Ireland people, even though we're only 3% of the population. I think that's a testament as to how committed the people of Northern Ireland are to the armed forces, and something that we feel very, very strongly about. I will give way.
I think, and because so many of the reservists in the armed forces come from Northern Ireland and serve gallantly across the world, would he also accept that one of the priorities for this government ought to be to ensure that the terms of the military covenant are fully available to soldiers who come from Northern Ireland and who need the services after they leave the forces?
The honourable gentleman has raised a very, very important point, and it is one of the issues that needs to be dealt with, that arises out of the Belfast Agreement, as he knows that in that agreement provisions were put in under Section 75, equality provisions, which actually work against giving our armed forces veterans the same status that they have in the rest of the United Kingdom. This is an issue that's got to be addressed. We had it in our manifesto, in our Northern Ireland plan, and I have no doubt that in the course of this Parliament this is an issue that we will have negotiations and discussions with the government about, and I'm sure that the Defence Secretary will take on board, and that the government will want to see progress on. Can I also say, before we get any further down the road of more detail on the gracious speech, can I just say a thank you to all those honourable and right honourable members, and indeed members of the staff of the House, who have very kindly passed on their best wishes to our party leader and First Minister of Northern Ireland, Peter Robinson, who has suffered problems with his health this week and has been hospitalised as a result. And I know that Peter and Iris and his family are deeply encouraged and comforted by the expressions of good wishes on all sides of the House. I'm glad to report that Peter is doing well, and certainly he has worked extremely hard probably to the detriment of his health, to try to make progress in Northern Ireland. And certainly his record of deal-making, negotiating and fighting and standing up for Northern Ireland is one that we should all be proud of, and it's one a record that we need to see continued. And so we wish him a speedy recovery and that he will soon be back in his much-needed position as First Minister of Northern Ireland. Can I also congratulate the government on what they have achieved in terms of their victory? It would be churlish not to, and also all those who have been elected to this House. And we have made the point, and I made the point at the election of the Speaker, that everybody elected to this House is equal. Everybody is equal in terms of the constituents they represent, the parties that are here, and we need to look very, very carefully at any suggestion that members should not be treated equally in this House. And coming from a small party from Northern Ireland, I think it is important that all sides of the House should be heard, respected, their voice heard, and that there is equality. This is the Parliament of the United Kingdom and the House of Commons, on which everybody has been elected on an equal franchise. Having said that, I do recognise that there is an issue for many people when it comes to English voters, and it's an issue that has to be addressed in the context of greater powers being devolved to countries. So I don't say that there's an easy answer to this. Everybody recognises this issue has been debated for many, many decades. The questions have been posed. The answers haven't been so easily or readily come forth. But I do think that on this issue and on issues about greater devolution and about the issue of devolved powers to the cities and regions of the United Kingdom more generally, this is an area where I think we do need to take time and to take things carefully and to move forward in a consensual way. And that is why I have advocated in the past the idea of a constitutional convention, that we should not tamper with our constitutional arrangements ad hoc or quickly or for party political advantage or have unintended consequences. We must look at these things very, very carefully indeed, and it's something that we will want to consider, I think, in due course as these matters come before the House. Can I also, Mr Deputy Speaker, say that we give a warm welcome to those new members from Northern Ireland who have been elected to this House. I want to give a welcome to the honourable member for Fermanagh South Tyrone, who isn't a member of my party, he's a member of the Ulster Unionist Party, when he's elected because there was a pact between the DUP and the Ulster Unionists. So that for the first time since 2001, Fermanagh South Tyrone, the most westerly constituency of the United Kingdom, a constituency where I was brought up and went to school, is once again represented in the House of Commons. And that the people of that great constituency have again a voice in this Parliament and will have someone to represent them instead of a Sinn Féin member who refused to take their seat in this House of Commons. So it is a good day for all of the people of Fermanagh South Tyrone that they will have a representative who will represent them all, and I know he will. So I wish him well, the honourable member, and I hope that he will be long spared to continue to represent that constituency. And I also welcome, of course, the new member for South Antrim, again not a member of our party, and I'm very sorry at the loss of our previous member, William McRae. But I do wish him well as well, and I hope that we can work together in the best interests of Northern Ireland. But most of all, of course, I welcome the new member for East Belfast, a member of our party who has retaken that seat once again for unionism, and we warmly look forward to him continuing to represent that seat for many years to come. This has been a good election in Northern Ireland for the unionist cause. We may look at other parts of the United Kingdom and other countries. We didn't put up any candidates in Scotland, but
this time,
we might do a better job, I have to say. But I'm glad to say that in Northern Ireland, unionist representation in this House has gone up from 10 seats to 12 seats out of 18, and that's a good advance in terms of Northern Ireland. And we look forward to ensuring that the voice of unionists in Northern Ireland is heard loudly and clearly in the coming years in Parliament. I will indeed, yes.
One of the things that in the most gracious speech that was asked for was the issue of psychoactive drugs, legal highs as we all know it. The people of my constituency and this party as well, as I believe many parties within this chamber, wish to see that coming forward. Unfortunately, the Prime Minister, in his address to the House, didn't give us a timescale of when it would happen. On behalf of my constituents in Newton Ours, especially young Adam Owens, who died 6 weeks ago as a result of this, we need to see this legislation coming through quickly. Does the honourable member and my friend, honourable friend, think that should happen right away?
Well, I agree with what the honourable gentleman has said, and he knows that that was in our manifesto and is something that we're pursuing very strongly in the Northern Ireland Assembly as well. Can I quickly, Mr Deputy Speaker, say that a few weeks ago, the idea of a majority government of any hue was regarded as ludicrous and out of the question, and pollsters in the political class have been rightly criticised. And of course, speculation about the role of some of the smaller parties was rife at that time. People were predicting all sorts of enormous influence. Now, of course, the same pundits who got it so wrong then are now predicting that some of the smaller parties will have absolutely no power at all. I mean, I read newspaper headlines just after the election saying, well, that's it, no role, no influence. I have to say, just as these pundits were wrong previously, they're wrong now, because in a Parliament where the government has only a majority of 12, I think it will be increasingly important that the views of other parties are taken into account. And certainly we will adopt a constructive approach to legislation and measures that come before this House. We set out before the election some of the principles which would guide us in terms of this House. We are Northern Ireland MPs, so we will always stand up for the best interests of Northern Ireland. We have proved that in running the executive alongside others. We have proved it in this House in terms of delivering for Northern Ireland, and we will continue to do that strongly and be a robust voice for all of the people of Northern Ireland in terms of this Parliament. We are also unionists, so we will always stand up for the union, strengthening the relationship between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom, ensuring that the symbols of British identity are strengthened, not weakened, in Northern Ireland. But we are also committed to making the United Kingdom stronger and better, not just in narrow Northern Ireland terms, but across the piece, across the whole of the United Kingdom. That's why we have emphasised the need to ensure that we have strong defences. The point that's been made by my honourable friend about the Armed Forces Covenant is very important. In terms of our commitment to NATO, in terms of our commitment to ensuring that 2% of GDP is spent on defence. That is an important issue, I think, in terms of ensuring that the United Kingdom is able to play its full and proper role on the world stage. And we look forward to the outworking of the full strategic defence and security review. We, of course, welcome very strongly, as I said at the outset, the commitment to the EU referendum. I remember one of the first things I did in the previous Parliament was to bring in a private member's bill to seek a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty. At that time, previously, the Prime Minister had given a cast-iron guarantee that there would be such a referendum, which he didn't pursue. I remember the vote on the night when 81 Conservatives rebelled in relation to an EU referendum, and we were castigated, and we joined with those Conservative rebels, and we were told it wouldn't happen. I'm glad now that everybody in this House, apart of course from the SNP, are agreed that there needs to be a referendum on our relationship with the European Union. We will certainly support that legislation. We need to deal with the issue that concerns voters, which is the amount of money that's going to Europe. The fact that it has an adverse effect in terms of immigration and border controls, and in terms of the sovereignty of this House and our ability as a peoples of the United Kingdom to make laws governing ourselves. In terms of building a stronger United Kingdom, a stronger union, we note the plans to devolve more powers to the towns and counties, the elected mayors, the English votes for English laws. And in terms of the Scotland Bill, the Wales Bill and Northern Ireland Bill, we will look at all these in great detail. But I want to finish by pointing to the current crisis that now envelops the Northern Ireland Assembly because of the failure to agree the welfare reform legislation. We have engineered a situation where we have the best possible welfare reform compared to any other part of the United Kingdom. We've got rid of the bedroom tax, and yet it has been vetoed by Sinn Féin because they won't contemplate any change at all to welfare. As a result, there's a £600 million deficit in the Northern Ireland budget. This will lead to the collapse of the Northern Ireland Assembly by the 31st of July unless the government steps in and enacts welfare reform. It is clear Sinn Féin are not up to doing the job. If they won't act, then this sovereign Parliament must act.